seasoned healthcare recruiter, Lisa Taylor. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you were able to join me today. So Lisa has been in healthcare HR and a recruiting professional in Houston for over 10 years. She started in the Texas Medical Center, and she has recruited for some of the nation's top institutions. There is no position in healthcare facilities or hospitals that she has not filled, from the inaugural team at Memorial Hermann TMC's heart failure unit to Medicare established home health positions across the country. And she is especially passionate about her current position at Connexus MedStaff, where she sources, interviews, preps, and places nurses from international backgrounds as they work towards their American dream. So thank you so much, Lisa Taylor.
Thank you. Congratulations on the show. We're so excited about it.
Oh,
can't wait to tune in.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a really neat place to just talk and share about talent acquisition, about HR and recruiting. I see, oh my gosh, we have somebody we have Ramon from Buenos Aires. I used to live there. Yeah. So, and then we have Noelle just came in from Boston. So can you see those on the screen? Can you read them too? Or are they a little too far away?
They're a little too far from me. I have to bring some glasses.
I'll try to read them for us. Okay. So thanks, Joanna. I see she can see and hear us. So we'll get going. So one thing I wanted to start with today is that all too often this year, we are incredibly inundated with negative news and stories about suffering and loss. And I want us to start off on a completely different tone. I want us to be intentional, I guess, about creating a positive space where you and I can talk about our lives and about our careers without getting super bogged down in that also common negative frame of mind. And I'll be the first to tell you, my humor is often very self-deprecating and overtly negative. So please call me out if I'm like super negative, because I don't want to be like that. I want us to start off on an upswing, like on a positive note. So my first question, Lisa, for you is, what has been your biggest win this year professionally?
Professionally, well, I thought about this.
Okay.
So much has happened that's been positive, and we do tend to overlook it because of the urgency of so many of the negatives that have come through this year in 2020 being what it is. Right. But I do think that probably the biggest professional positive is that we have gotten through this. I feel like I should knock on wood somewhere. So far, with none of our nurses being furloughed or set aside or rehomed or transferred or anything. They have all kept their positions, which has been amazing. We spent some sleepless nights worried about that, but we've been very lucky.
Wow. That is incredible. In an age where we have record high unemployment across the nation, healthcare has been somewhat insulated from that in certain sectors of healthcare. So that is incredible that you haven't had any nurses furloughed. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then what has been your biggest win this year in your personal life?
Well, I'm tempted to say just making it through. Right? That's where all of us
kids are at school today?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody, shows up for school in real clothes, not pajamas. But,
that's a win.
It's all a win. I think personally, this has been a real opportunity for us to sit back and, actually at my company, we do something where we're all taking time outs every once in a while with each other and just sort of checking in for mental health. And this came up in conversation last week when we had our meeting. I kind of had a moment where I was just like everybody else. I was kind of depressed. I didn't know what to do. We're stuck at home. We can't do anything. And then I got out of it. I changed things and I started purposefully being more active and getting my kids out of the house, lots of walks, lots of time where discipline is not necessarily a factor, which just makes a more positive experience for everybody. It's not shush, mom's on a conference call, or stop running around, or turn down the TV. It was like, let's get outside and let's yell as loud as we want and run down the street and do whatever it takes to feel like being a kid again, because it's been hard on all of us. And I think that's as much for the adults as the children. Like, let's all relax and try to feel like kids again and enjoy life with what we have.
That's so funny. We did a lot of walks too. I think that was like big thing during the very onset of the pandemic. And my neighborhood actually did what they called like a bear hunt. And so you put stuffed animals in your windows, and then kids would go on this like scavenger hunt, and they would take pictures of all the stuffed animals they saw, and then they put them on social media. It was pretty cute. I mean, but it was, I felt like a little kid again. I painted during when we were at home at the first, like we made meals all at home. And I think a lot of it has to do with, and you said that you were having trouble, emotionally and mentally, just giving yourself some space and giving yourself the freedom to just be like, this is hard and it is okay that we're all struggling. So I'm glad to hear that you've had some serious wins this year, though. Oh, I'm very, very happy about that. So I want to hear more about what you do and what type of recruiting that you currently do at Connexus MedStaff.
Okay. So like you said in your introduction, I've done a lot of different things. When I got into recruiting, I kind of got in the deep end, which was fantastic. Got to learn everything really fast. But right now I do work for a staffing company that helps connect hospitals and facilities that are really suffering from a nursing shortage with international nurses who are looking for an opportunity to achieve sponsorship and American experience and utilize their education and skills that they have here in the US. So we work with nurses who are overseas right now, and we also work with nurses who are in the country working and studying on a different kind of visa. So we kind of across the board help people find the American position that they're looking for.
That's so awesome. And so in that same vein, this is something that I think I'm going to start asking everyone. How would you explain your job to a 10-year-old kid? And anybody in the comments, try to do that. Try to explain your job to like an elementary school kid.
This is funny because I do try to explain my job to my older son all the time. And he's kind of like, well, I think you just make phone calls, Mom. I think you do. No, really, I think what I would say is we are lucky enough to live in a country that has a lot of opportunities, and not everyone has that. So if they would like to come and live in our country, our government would like them to be contributing to society. And one of the ways that they can do that is by helping sick people. If they would like to come and help sick people in America, Mommy can find them a job.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. I can tell you talk to kids. Yeah. That's awesome. And honestly, we did this exercise with somebody that's been helping us with marketing, and is like, explain what you do in the simplest terms possible. Like you're explaining it to a child. And I was like, oh, that's revolutionary. That's really easy. So in the comments, if you guys are joining us, I see that Patty Witt has joined us, and Joanna and Horacio. And I think I just lost a couple of comments. I'm sorry, guys. But if you're here watching on LinkedIn Live, or I think it's being streamed in other platforms, please let us know. Ilja Thomas, thank you so much. And thanks for thinking it was a cool question. I agree. It wasn't my idea, though. So just hit the comment or hit the like button or the celebrate button that you're here with us today watching. And then also, whenever I ask Lisa a question, please feel free to answer that question from your perspective in the comments. So we want it to try to be a really open conversation. So moving back into like the TA space, this is something that I wanted to ask you. And I want to ask it kind of in a positive way because I'm trying to stay super positive. So for all the job seekers out there, there are a lot of people seeking jobs right now. What is your resume pet peeve? What do you hate seeing on resumes?
Something that I have learned here in this current position is that it really is not taught that we like to see your most current experience first. That seems kind of elementary to a lot of us who have always applied for positions here in the US, but culturally that's not always the norm. A lot of cultures will start with their first position, and then on the third page you find their most recent.
Right.
I like to see it the other way. That it really helps me know where you are right now, and then kind of work backwards from there.
So is that called reverse chronological order, where you start where you're at now and go backwards?
Yes.
Right? Okay. Yes. I have noticed that, and I didn't realize it might be a cultural thing in other places, because there's certain resumes I've seen and I'm like, why are you showing me what you did in 1992? I want to know what you did in 2018. And then I flip the page or go further down. I'm like, oh, so I never realized that. Okay, well, that's awesome. So to make it more positive, what is something that you always want to see in a resume?
I always want to see an effort to stay updated. So yes, it's a difficult economy, and we understand that you may not have a job right now. You may not be able to be working right now, but show us how you're trying to stay in the game. You're volunteering, you're researching, you're taking classes. What are you doing to make sure that when you get back into, so in particular in healthcare, if you're away from the bedside as a nurse for more than 2 years, it's hard for a lot of our clients to be excited about working with you because they think about everything they'll have to train. If you are volunteering in a hospital, if you're working in a clinic, if you're doing something similar to that where you are keeping updated, you're taking classes, you'll be familiar with the terminology, with the technology, all of the things that they really want to focus on.
All right. Yeah, I think that that's helpful for everyone. And anybody out there that's watching, that's in talent acquisition, can you tell me what your pet peeves that you see on resumes are and what you always want to see in resumes? And we have a couple new people in. Jennifer David from Orlando, thank you so much for joining us. And Noelle, she says that she loves the way that you described your job to a 10-year-old. It was pretty amazing. Ilja just asked, do we still use any profile pictures in the US on our resumes? No.
That's a good question. And also, in the same vein as that, let's talk about birthdays with years and marital status and religious preferences, because those things will show up on resumes as well. And while I don't make any decisions based on them, it would be nicer if I could say I didn't know them at all.
Right. So I've seen that a lot. And since you probably deal with a lot more international candidates, I have seen that from international candidates, more of like the very traditional CV style, where there is the profile headshot, marital status, address, birth dates. Yeah. And it's all of the things that we should not and do not take into consideration when hiring people. It's, we want to it's a merit-based system. It's on your experiences. And so really, there are some softwares that take that out, but if somebody just sends you their resume and it's on there, it is so hard to just be like, oh gosh, I have to completely ignore that. Yeah. And I tell people, I don't put my actual address on my resume, like my actual house number. No way. Because if I say I upload that to Indeed and 400 companies look at that, I don't know where that's going. I put my city, state, and zip code. But I don't think that at the point of me just sending out my resume and whatnot, they don't need to know what my actual house number is. And that's like more security, and because that's a common question a lot on credit applications. Were you ever associated with this address? So I don't want that out there. I don't want my personal house number or apartment number on there. Never your birth date. We in the US, we do not recommend, and nobody really does it anymore, and we do not recommend ever putting your profile picture. I guess for certain jobs, like if that's something that like modeling or something, I guess you probably have to.
If it's something that's requested,
right? You
can always come back and ask for it if there's more information needed. But you stick to
the next
job.
Step. Right.
Anything else, like you said, could even become a security risk. So even listing hobbies and things could end up being those password protection questions, right? So
one thing, I had somebody that worked on my resume with me a while ago, and I had a organization that I volunteered for, and it was a faith-based organization. And they said, you're welcome to keep this, but you need to understand that it portrays a certain trait that you have. And if that's what you want to do, that's okay. But you need to understand it from the other person's perspective. And I was like, man, I never even thought about that, about what I'm putting on there. So I think it's Ilja. I think that's how I'm going to say his name. But he said, wow, that's so interesting about the address. Great insight. Also, is your typical US CV a one-pager best case, or can it be several pages?
I really hate the myth of the one-page resume.
Me too. Thank you.
Who started that?
I don't know. A busy HR people that, and maybe it really is. They didn't want to look through 12 pages of somebody's like, I did this and this and this. Maybe that's what it is.
As long as it pertains to what you're
Hmm?
looking to do, then it's important to put it in there. You don't want big gaps in experience. You want to be able to explain anytime separated. And if you don't have to show a gap, then don't, definitely put those jobs in there, even if they don't pertain. I don't think you should go back that far. If you have 25 years of experience, I mean, maybe cover the last 10. And then you can put a note that says, previous experience available upon request.
Right. Like the previous 10 years of my experience as a nurse, I can list those out for you, but I agree. It has to be relevant. So I do not like the whole 1-page rule at all. I think that might be, it's definitely hinders some people. If you don't have enough to fill 2 pages, that's fine. If you have enough to fill 12 pages, that's probably too much. But making it a succinct document that shows your level of experience and expertise, and that can convey to the person that's hiring or your TA people what you bring to that organization. That's what your goal is, not just a massive list of the CV that could be 13 pages with every one of your publications or every one of the organizations you're in. So Thank you. That was a great question. I'm so glad you asked that, Ilja. So one thing I wanted to know is how you think talent acquisition has changed this year specifically. What has changed and what has actually stayed the same?
So I'll start with what stayed the same, which is that connection. The connection that you can make with candidates, the connection that candidates make with a company, that's never going to change. I think if you start to lose that, then you will start to lose the quality of candidate, the buy-in for success from a manager. These things are so important because when you're talking about a job, as a recruiter, you can look at this as it's my job to fill jobs and that's it. But you have to remember that you're actually involved in someone's life, one of the most important decisions that they will ever make. So you want to make good choices. You want to get the right fit. You want the right person to get the right job. So just remembering that the more you speak with someone, not over a recording, not over text or email, but actually communicating with them, the more you're going to get the right connection. And something that I can definitely get on a soapbox on, I won't do it, but I mean, if you're in recruiting and you don't like to make phone calls, you need to kind of reevaluate. Phone calls are so important.
Right.
You can't let that go. That will never change. No matter how we change technology, that will never change.
No, I agree. And I'm a big proponent of AI. I love researching AI and learning about it. And I love software and technology in the recruiting and TA space. However, one thing that I always will be cognizant of is that people have to be involved in the process, and that interpersonal connection will always be there. And when I have clients that are like, well, I don't want this to replace my HR department, I don't want this to take somebody's job. I don't believe it's going to. I think it's going to help us. It's going to assist us in creating a better process. I don't want to take anybody's job either. That's for sure. But that human connection will always be a massive part of talent acquisition. And I think one thing that has actually changed, and maybe for the better, this is super strange, but do you feel like you've had more connections this year than you have in the past? Like actual conversations, connecting, networking with people?
I do. And I kind of blame some of this technology for it. I think that, if only we had all known to buy stock in Zoom, right? A year ago, this has been the most amazing thing that's ever happened.
I know. Really?
Yeah. I've done everything on Zoom from have my 3-year-old's birthday party to, international webinars for people in the UAE. We have covered the globe with Zoom, and it's been such a gift. And I think that it helps add some more of that personal touch. So even then you could look at, okay, if you're happy making phone calls as a recruiter, are you happy making face-to-face calls? Because that's even more of a connection. And it almost goes back to those days that our parents used to talk about where they say, if you just walk in and hand them a resume, you'll get a job.
Oh, right.
We all know it doesn't work like that anymore, but it's that face-to-face contact that they're talking about getting and how important.
My parents made us all do that. We had to we took in handwritten applications to places in our little small town and said, introduced ourselves and I'm looking for a summer job or I'm looking for a high school job. And we had to do that. We had to go in. If somebody came up to me and did that now, I'd be like, oh, why are you here? Oh no, what's happening? It would be such a strange situation.
Yes.
I never even thought of that. But the way that we're able to connect using the technology this year has completely changed for me. And I think myself and a few of the people that I work with, a couple of my colleagues, I think we've all become better recruiters and in talent acquisition because our communication style has changed. And I think maybe in March, Rollis, he's the president of HR Maximizer. And we were talking with this consultant, and the person said, communication is going to be key over the next couple of months. You're going to have to communicate with your clients, with the candidates, with everybody. And what you need to always remember is the message sent, the message received. So whatever you said, is that actually what they received? And I have like a Post-it over here of it because I think I can communicate really well at times, but sometimes I'm not clear whatsoever. And it might be something in my mind that I'm like, oh, this project, they should be this far on it. But if I'm not communicating at that high level of effectiveness, if the message that I'm sending isn't the one that's being received, there's a problem. So that was something that I think really helped us this year. And our communication has been outstanding. And I think that we've really done a really good job communicating with candidates and staying engaged and staying connected. So, Patty Witt, thank you so much. She said that she has a 4-page resume. Whoa.
Patty,
I want to see it.
For a job?
I want to see it, Patty. Can you send it to me on LinkedIn? I want to check it out. Mine's 2 pages. I'll say it. I have a 2-page resume. I've done a lot of stuff and I did a lot of school and I want it on there.
That's a big part of it. It's something to be proud of. And it also offers you the opportunity to have a connection with somebody. As alums, we know how powerful those alum connections can be.
Oh, yes.
That's major. One thing that I've done getting creative and helping people with their resumes is maybe focusing on skill sets and then moving into actual positions where they had those skills. But just saying, okay, if you want someone who has leadership, here are the things they've done in leadership. Here's what they've done in assessment. Here's this. And then at the bottom, it's like worked here to here. And it still gives you that timeline.
I like that.
It still shows that, but at least we're highlighting what it is. So maybe if the job you're going for doesn't necessarily line up with the job you have, you can still focus toward those values that they're looking for. Maybe pick up some of those keywords that the AI is going to look for, right?
Lisa, that was like one of my next questions. And I didn't even give her my questions. This is all just a conversation and I have questions prepared and she just totally segued into it. But basically, okay, so I read this article this morning that many job seekers are changing careers and industries. They're actually relocating to find employment, and that the trends in this study that I read, they show that the uncertainty due to the pandemic this year has impacted how candidates are seeking and accepting new positions, and how the pandemic has shifted power of the job market to employers, because as employers, we have far more choice right now. So that's where the power lies. So the article went on and it talked about some employed people are having a really difficult time identifying transferable skills, if you will, and or how to communicate what those transferable skills are within their resume. So, or in their cover letter. So can you kind of elaborate on that, give us an example of some transferable skills that you've seen and how you put them in a resume?
I think that anytime you want to start with that ability to lead. If you can highlight an ability to be a leader, you can also later highlight the ability to be a team player. You don't really want to eliminate one or the other, but any opportunity that you have where you can reference delegation, even if it goes as far as to say, you led the team initiative on, whatever in the month, as long as you're really highlighting those opportunities that you had to show yourself. I think people want to see leadership skills. They want to see a good team member working well with others, and they want to see the ability to have initiative, to really have that initiative, to go above and beyond because if you have a pool full of candidates, you're going to want the one that stays forever. No matter what the job market, says, no matter people's experience, the truth is that most employers do hire with the idea that you'll be there forever. You are one of them from now on. So if you get to the point of, really selling that you want to be a part of this, and I think it's becoming a thing that's more of a job culture as well, where we talk about being part of a family, part of a team. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to show that you can do that and that you're invested and you have the initiative to make that last for a very long time.
Yeah, no, I think that you're completely right. And I have had an issue I have skills in, say, this certain part of my career, but how do I show that, I guess, in my cover letter or my resume to people? And the best way that I found to do it is I put it in my skill section, like what I'm proficient at, but I also list it within my job description. If one of my things is written communication, right? If that's one of my skill sets, I list why, like a time when I have been successful with written communication. Yes. And the article also talked a lot about how organizations are really working towards upskilling. And for anybody that's out there looking for a job right now, it said that LinkedIn and Microsoft Teams are offering really great courses right now for free to help people upskill that are looking to change industries. I think Excel type of, Excel, Microsoft Word, just like those refreshers, anything that can keep you moving forward and learning new content and new information, I think. And then you can always list those on what you've been doing for new educational and training purposes. So, okay, I have a couple of fun questions for you.
Okay.
So you told me that you are a reader, right? You're a really big reader.
I am, yes.
Okay. So what's your book recommendation for the audience? Or what book are you reading right now?
Well, I usually will read something a little bit lighter and then something that maybe requires a little bit more. So I'm currently finishing up the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy.
Okay.
With the last one, because I love that movie and the books are really fun. And then I found out that the writer is actually from Houston. In the second book, he talks about the DeBakey Heart Institute. And I was like, I know that. So that's kind of fun. I just read a book called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hugo or something like that. And It was really interesting. Just a really different book, kind of like a game of Clue, but also you have no idea what's going on in it, and unreliable narrators and those kinds of things really capture my attention. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I do the same thing. I read kind of a lighthearted, and I've done it a lot more this past years. I've read a lot more lighthearted kind of things, a lot more novels, because I usually read pretty heavy intellectual type of books, a lot of policy, a lot of politics, a lot of history. But yeah, I just read the second book of the series, and it's called Mustard Seed. It's kind of about the antebellum South and female rights and slavery and how it played in like this one particular family's life. And it was a really great book. I'm also reading Leadership by Lincoln. Somebody on one of Rollis's shows actually recommended it, and it is phenomenal. So, thank you so much, Joanna. She just put it out there for everybody. So The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Joanna is a big reader too, and she loves novels. So
thank you, Joanna. I knew I was going to mess up one of the words. It's a very long title.
No, that is a super long title. So speaking about titles, what would the title of your personal memoir be?
I'm laughing about this answer. I'm probably going to regret saying it, but I would say probably Fake It Till You Make It.
Oh, come on. I doubt it. You're a very competent woman.
No, I think that's, in a way, I kind of talk that up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I tease, of course, because we do have to know exactly what we're doing when we do what we're doing. But I think it's important to understand that when you are starting a job or when you are getting involved in a career, that you give yourself space to learn and to grow. And I don't think you ever want that space to fill up. You want to continue learning and growing and doing new things. And, you you definitely don't put yourself out there as someone who knows more than they know, but you want to say, hey, I'm out here. I do know what I know, and I would love to know more, and make every relationship collaborative.
That is powerful. Yes, I do know what I know, but I'm always willing to know more. That is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So where is the next place on your travel bucket list? Because I all know we've been at home for a very long time.
So realistically, we're probably going to take our kids to Disney when things settle down. I would love that. We took my son a couple of years ago, my oldest. He barely remembers it, but he got to meet Mickey, and that was a big thing. So we're looking forward to that. But if you're really talking bucket list.
Yeah.
I am torn between like Mykonos, Greece, or an African safari.
Oh my gosh. Those are both amazing choices.
Yeah.
I don't know. One's super adventurous and one is like so luxurious and laid back.
Yeah, and I feel like either way, I would have to travel as someone with a lot of money for either of those trips, so that I'm taking like the highbrow version of either one of those. I want like the Kardashian Greece house, you know?
Oh, right. You're like, I'm not going to stay at a hostel. This is not budget travel 101. This is,
if it's a bucket list, let's make it really a bucket list item.
I know. That's wonderful. So can you tell me what your favorite thing about your career in talent acquisition is?
I'm probably going to nerd out just a little bit here because I love my job. I feel so blessed that I got into talent acquisition. I did not even know what it was when I graduated from college. I had never heard of a recruiter. I knew HR, but I didn't know. And I got into it a little bit by accident.
I think it's pretty common.
Yeah. And I realized once I learned what a recruiter was, I realized that I have actually been recruiting people into things my entire life. Everyone has to like the same bands as me, see the same. I mean, it's been a lifetime thing.
Right.
So it just fit with my personality. And I think the best thing is really the relationships, the candidates that you get to know. And when you are lucky enough to work in the same location as them, seeing them 2 years later and kind of checking in on all the things that you know about, and really knowing that you were able to help make a positive difference in someone's life. I think we've all been in a position where we've been in a job that wasn't a good fit and we were unhappy, or where we've been desperate to find a job at some point in life. And just knowing that you can help somebody who ever felt like that is just an amazing thing. It's such a blessing. It's an amazing career to be a part of.
That's so true. I'm connected with a lot of people on LinkedIn, and I'm still connected with a lot of the people that I helped place, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was, and seeing how they've grown and seeing the new jobs or, their new positions has been phenomenal. And a lot of time, and I'm still friends with a lot of them. I've become, professional acquaintances with people, and it is so exciting to be a part of that big change in people's life. And I agree with you completely. So back to some fun questions. What's the latest TV show you've binge watched?
Oh,
or do you have time for TV?
Not a lot. My husband and I have about like 7 shows that we're trying to watch together, and we get like one episode every couple of weeks.
Okay. Like not in a row. Okay.
Yeah. Like, no, we just really want to get to them. And we never can, because by the time the kids are in bed, then I'm like passed out on the couch, or he's passed out on the couch. So on our own, we do get through some stuff. I think I talked about this on Fun Fridays. I love the Great British Bake Off. I'm so excited that it's in a new season. I get ridiculously invested in these people's lives, their success. I get really happy for them. And then I look at a lot of things that I will never try to make. It's great.
All right. Are you much of a baker, or just like
I do like baking. It's just a lot of, I'm just really in the middle of that time where the kids require a lot of attention. And I think as my youngest gets a little bit older, it'll be sad, but also we can kind of open back up some other hobbies and things that I set aside for a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So Ilja just shared a couple of books. Thank you so much. He's so helpful today. He's been commenting on all the stuff that we've been talking about. Joanna said that she also had plans to go to Disney the week that we went into lockdown. I didn't know that, Joe.
Sad.
I know. So anybody else that's in the comments or watching, please let us know what you have been binge watching on TV, because I have found myself with a little bit of extra time. I'm not super big TV time watcher, but I've been watching some TV and I'm kind of liking it. And I feel like I could see more TV in my future.
What are you doing? What's your show?
So I watch series. I like a lot of series. My mom got us, we watched the whole like Hell on Wheels series. We watched Silicon Valley.
That show is funny.
From HBO. Oh my gosh, I loved that show. We just redid, I had only seen like bits and pieces of Breaking Bad. And during the pandemic, like during lockdown, I guess we should say, we're still in a pandemic, but we did the whole series of Breaking Bad all the way through. It was crazy. It was very intense. But so I'm always willing to take some really good recommendations for good TV shows or books.
So I will say Better Call Saul should be next on your list.
Yes.
I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but I got into Better Call Saul and I love it. It's so good.
Yeah. And so anybody else, if you guys have them, Patty Witt says American Horror Story. She's been rewatching.
Patty is brave.
And Ratchet, I think it's called Ratchet. Ratchet. My sister watched it. Okay. I have to make a confession. I'm kind of a scary cat. Like I loved Game of Thrones, but during the scary parts, I had to close my eyes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a child at heart and I cannot deal with scary things.
I'm the same. I think Patty is a very brave woman.
Yeah. Brave.
I admire Patty.
I know. I don't like gory horror kind of stuff. It scares me. And then I think about it and I get like obsessed about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have bad dreams now. And it's not worth my stress. So speaking of stress, how do you deal with work stress? What do you do to de-stress?
So I will say I have actually gotten, I have a friend of a friend who is a personal trainer.
Okay.
And I have gotten into exercising for stress. This is very new. This is very not Lisa Taylor. However, I like sweating on purpose, not my favorite usually, but I love it. I love it. It's challenging. It's exciting. It gives me more energy for the kids and for the house, and I'm in a better mood.
So
my
wonderful.
Happy. So yeah, it's great.
Sweating on purpose. That you can make t-shirts. I would buy one. That's hilarious. Yeah, anybody that lives in the South, or like I'm not from Houston, and when I moved here, I was like, how do you guys function? How do you go to work every day? You just sweat and people just don't care.
And you have very big hair all the time.
I know. I was like, why is everybody acting like this is normal? Because it is not normal.
They have actually
all the time. But it is what it is. So Patty Witt says she covers her eyes too. Thank you. I'm glad to know that because I am terrified of scary movies and shows. So thank you. The Umbrella Academy, somebody said, is really good. Sean says that Better Call Saul is fantastic. So I will definitely try that out. We've been doing yoga. So I'm not good at yoga. So it's a practice. I've been learning more about yoga. I'm terrible. And I laugh the whole time because I can't do most of it, but it really has been helping. And that is something that has very much helped the stress, from work, from life and everything. So what is the one thing that can instantly make your day better? Is there something that you're like, oh, that'll make my day so much better?
I think there are a lot of things.
Okay.
I definitely don't want to be a broken record, but definitely when I pick the kids up from school, that's an instant switch. I'm so happy to see them, and they're so happy to see me, initially, and then they get video games or whatever they're working on, and they're happy to do that. I think it's an all day kind of thing. If I hear the right songs, if I get myself in the right headspace, the good conversations at work, if I feel frustrated at work, having a conversation with someone about forward growth and future will always make my day better. Just knowing
Oh.
that there's opportunity and always the chance to learn more and to do more, it can just totally turn my day around.
Okay. Yeah. Coffee is something like a really good cup of coffee, not just like icky drip cup, I want like a good cup of coffee and it can make me feel so much better. FaceTiming, like I'm the world's best aunt, clearly. I don't have children myself, but I can FaceTime with all my nieces and nephews, and that always makes my day instantly better because they're funny. They say funny things. They love me. They think I'm super cool. It's like that instant validation. I need that. Okay. And always my dogs. I'm one of those people, but so I totally get it. That's awesome. It's the little things in life. And sometimes it's nothing huge. I mean, a nice cup of coffee can just make my day even better. So one thing I want to ask you about in talent acquisition. So we're constantly assessing other individuals' knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? We're pretty judgy, if you will. However, as an applicant, think of from an applicant side or the last time that you were a candidate, what qualities or knowledge, skills, and abilities do you look for in a boss or an employer?
I think it's kind of a buzzword, but for good reason. I think servant leadership is a huge thing. I think that knowing that your manager's goal is for you to look good. It's that reversal, it's that understanding that truly what managers should be are people who are helping guide their employees. And if their employees are successful, then they are successful, and not the other way around. The manager's not there because they're so successful they can push everybody around, but it's the other way. It's you're successful at helping other people grow, and through their growth, you benefit. I think that's a huge thing that you want to grasp.
And I think you're right. I think it is a buzzword. I've heard servant leadership for a long time, but it's true. It's real. And I think that I think you can see self-serving people really quickly in either side of the process as a candidate or as the recruiter or the hiring manager. And really seeing those people who are there to be a part of the organization, to be a part of the team, to not only grow themselves, but help grow what your mission is. And I have looked for the same thing. And I think that's, it's hard sometimes to find it, but I think that when you see a really great leader and you want to be a part of that organization. So that is something that I look for as well.
And I think it's important to also pay attention to the things that a company puts out about themselves. If they
like their branding?
Yeah, like their mission, their vision, their goals, their values. Not just the articles that make them look good, not just good press, not just great reviews, which all of these things are important, but look at what the company says they stand for. It's kind of like that. I think I'm going to paraphrase it probably terribly. It's a quote from Maya Angelou, which is basically, once someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yes.
Believe it. If your company wants that facing the world, then that is truly what they believe in. And that is what you need to understand about that company.
Right. Do they live and do they speak their values and their mission statement? Do they just have it up on the wall to look good, or do they really do they really function of a business of that type of a value or that type of a mission? That's a really good point. Thank you so much. So what is your favorite part of the workday as a recruiter?
I do love interviews.
Okay.
I still do love interviewing my candidates. I think that's probably going to be my favorite. I love interviewing and I love teamwork. So I love when our team gets together and talks about how are we going to hit the goals that we've set? Mm-hmm. Are these realistic? Where are we with that? But definitely those two things. I don't like to do solo work as much. I do like to be so either an interview or a team.
One of the things that I really like that we do with our clients is we have a weekly meeting where we go through all of the top candidates for those positions. And it's kind of a big recruiting overview, and we can kind of present people. And it's exciting because these are people that are going to have a new job. They're going to be moving to a new location. It's a life-changing career move. And we got to just talk about who fits and who's going to move forward. And I love that organizational teamwork aspect of that.
Yeah, collaboration, I think, is big for a lot of people in talent acquisition. I think that we are people, and you hear it a lot and kind of start to laugh at it after a while. But I mean, we really
are people,
working with people. So that's where we are.
My profession is people. That's what I do. I'm a people. Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple of things. A couple of people also exercise to de-stress and do yoga. Joanna said that she used to do hot yoga, but now it just seems gross after COVID. And it does. You're so right.
It's intense, especially in Houston. Again, when you talk about living in the South.
Yeah.
Hot yoga. It's a big deal.
I'm not going to be in a hot yoga room anytime soon. You can count on that. Rollis said that he wants to put a plug in for Jody Fontenot, who has a great Jody Pilates routine on YouTube. It helps with stress, plus a good walk around the neighborhood. And then they linked Jody Pilates, a YouTube link, so go check that out as well. Thank you guys for posting those. So to end out, I mean, we have a couple, 10 more minutes or whatever, but I'm a bit of a software enthusiast. So I know it might sound super strange, but I really like well-organized, user-friendly software and web spaces and apps. I legitimately feel a very strong negative emotional response to terrible user interface or experience. I'm like, oh, this doesn't work. I don't like it. It's bad. So I am always on the search for tech tools that are intuitive, easily integrated, easily usable by anybody. Do you have any HR or TA tools or technology tools that you are really enjoying?
So this is a great question for us because we are turning the corner and technology has been a huge goal for this fiscal year for our team. So we have adopted Calendly.
Oh, I love it.
It's amazing. So when I was talking about people not wanting to make phone calls, one of the things I used to run into with other recruiters is they would try to train me to, just send an email with some open times and let them pick a time. And I'm like, no, this is a better conversation to have. You're risking a lot more of them falling off with the back and forth than to just nail it down. And Calendly, it combines those two things by saying, hey, what's your schedule? Make it work with mine. Right. That would be great.
What I like with Calendly is you can have, if you want to do a 15-minute, a 30-minute, an hour, I can send them a different link and be like, you can book 30 minutes with me, whatever works best for you.
Exactly.
And I love it because it gives you that feeling like, wow, I am important enough to be put on. I can go to somebody else's calendar and put my time on their calendar. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. Their time is dedicated to you.
Yes. I love Calendly.
I do too.
I love it. So anything else that you've been using?
We have adopted Odro to do some video recording interviews. I love that one. And that I think it's a British company, but I mean, it's basically your ability to record interviews rather than us trying to transcribe or make notes or audio record something. This is excellent for clarity. It's excellent for, any sort of issues in the future regarding a candidate or for training purposes, for other recruiters, for yourself. It's just a really good opportunity to take a step back and to also have that face-to-face conversation with a candidate where you're not looking down and writing or just over the phone. So it's
just over the phone and walking around the house.
Yeah.
Whatever. Doing 30 other things while you're on the phone. Yeah,
exactly. That one. And then we're also about to start a texting program, which is not anything cutting edge. I think a lot of recruiting companies have used text programs like Text Us or Text Recruit, anything like that.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan of that because the focus of my job is university students, and that is the only way that they want to communicate. Old people use phones to call people. Young people use them to write to people and play games and listen to music. So
this is crazy. Okay, so if you ask people that were born before 90, I'm going to say maybe 2000, I don't know. If you were going to signal, if somebody's across the room from you and you're going to signal for them to call you, what do you do? Like, hey, call me later. What hand signal do you do?
Oh, I was definitely born before 90. So I'm over here like, hey.
You're like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what my nieces do. They either do this or this.
Oh, that's funny.
Because they're holding the phone.
That's what a phone looks like now.
Yeah. instead of this.
Yeah.
Crazy. I love that one. It's so strange.
That is funny.
I know.
It's like I have a friend who's a teacher, and she put the assignment numbers, 12 through 30, and the student said, "Why is it hashtag 1230?"
Hashtag.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in that sweet spot of like the middle, like the zennial, if you will. We're like a little bit Z, a little bit millennial, and I still know some pretty cool stuff. But I am
out of touch quite yet.
I'm running out of touch super quick.
Me too.
It's rough, but it's okay. I'm growing up. It's okay. I'm a professional lady. I can embrace the grow up. I can embrace the maturity. So, but anybody else out there that's watching, if you could let me know about any of the technology tools, the TA tech, HR tech that you're using. One thing that I actually just found, and I don't know if anybody else does this because I haven't heard a whole lot about it. We use the Google platform. I share, our organization uses the Google platform, Google Drive, and there's a part of Google Drive I've never used called Google Keep. And it's basically like a giant clipboard and organizational, I almost call it like a pin board, not Pinterest, but like I can put a ton of things in there that I want to put in my document or in my presentation, and they're all in one place. And it is phenomenal. Like completely changed the way that I'm working.
Really cool.
Yeah. So, but if anybody else has anything that they're using, I would love to know about it. I love to check all of the new technology out and see what's coming into trends, I guess, if you will, for TA and HR. So I guess to wrap up, I want to ask you a question about work.
Okay.
Let me think how I want to ask this. Sorry, it's going to take me just a second. So
exciting.
No, it's not. So I wanted to ask, have you ever had a professional mentor? And if not, do you want one?
I have, and I do.
Okay.
And my advice to people who want one is, depending on what you want to do with it, if you want to find somebody in your company or outside of your company, I actually kind of assign myself people from time to time.
Yes.
So they may not know that that's the relationship they're getting into, but there are people that I can identify and I say, that person, I really like the way they work. I like the way that they communicate. I want to be them when I grow up, in a way.
Yeah.
So that's when I'll kind of spend a little extra time with them. And then at some point I will say, I want to learn about your communication style. How did you come up with that? Or how do you not reflexively react to things? Or how do you kind of quiet that initial voice in your head? All of those things that I think mentors are there to help us with. And then also, if you have a really strong one, I think that they can bring things up that you never would realize as an issue. And they're also extremely good at identifying when you're struggling. And, I've had a couple of those really amazing. I have an amazing mentor now who, also can act in a supervisory role from time to time. And it's an incredible kind of juxtaposition for them to be in, because they can speak to me about, what I would like to see happen, and also where we can improve where we currently are. So I think that the opportunity for mentors is all around. I think it's a lucky thing to have. I encourage everyone to have somebody that they look up to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've been blessed with some amazing mentors, and, it was never in a professional or in like an institutionalized way, like where somebody assigned me, this is your mentor, you're the mentee. It's more been very organic, people that I've learned from, because I have the propensity to learn from them, because they have great content and information, and they're teaching me things and showing me ways. And I love that about learning how to handle tough situations from them, how they've done it in a professional manner. That is something that I've worked on as well. One of my mentors, I do teach I was teaching at the University of Houston downtown. And one of the things one of my mentors there said to me is like, even though you're young, you are an expert in this area. You have, a terminal degree, you have a Juris Doctorate, you know this stuff. Do not discount that. These students are looking to you for the expertise. Don't pretend that you're like, oh, well, maybe this, be more confident. And that helped me so much. I was like, you know what? You're right. I am a professional adult. I don't have to be embarrassed that I know things. And
imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Yes, you're totally right. And that whole, when you said fake it till you make it, I was like, that's all I've ever, that's what I feel like I've always done, but that's part of that imposter syndrome. But I can own the fact that I do know things. I am an expert in certain areas. And I love that. And that was something that one of my mentors kind of just like served up to me on a silver platter. Like, I was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Thank you. It was so liberating, I would say, in my professional career. And I hope I've grasped it, and I'll continue to grow with it. So we have a couple more comments that have come in. I saw that somebody said that they use OneNote, Calendly, Perspectin. I don't know what that is, but I'll check it out. And then I just missed some comments, and I'm so sorry for the people that I missed them. They already went away on my device. So if you are watching this on replay, please do go ahead and put comments in. We can, both Lisa and I can go through and check those. If you tag us, we can reply and connect with you guys. I am an open connector on LinkedIn. I'll connect with anybody. Lisa, do you connect with most anybody on LinkedIn?
I do, yes. Anybody who reaches out, usually I have a connection with.
Okay, wonderful. So if you're watching this live or on replay, please go ahead and connect with us. I actually just put up a poll yesterday. It's a post on my profile. You can go and look for it. And I'm asking people to give me their response, either their thumbs up, their celebrate, the heart, and it pertains to what's happening this year in your career. Did you keep your job? Did you get a new job? Are you still looking, or are you hiring? And I'm hoping it's going to be a way for a lot of people in my network to connect with other people who might be looking for a job or who might be hiring. And we've already got a lot of people that have commented and given their status on there. So thank you guys so much. Okay, so Il just says Prospectin. We will love it. So it's Prospectin. I'm going to go check it out. That sounds awesome. But Lisa, I just thank you so much for your time today. You are just a wealth of knowledge. I love how much you know and how much you like and truly like recruiting. It's so refreshing. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. I love being here. I love any excuse to talk with you and any excuse to talk about my job. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I know we'll have you back again because you are great. And have a wonderful week.
You too. Thank you.
Your kids. They're the part of your day that makes it all worth it, right?
I will. I'm counting down the minutes now.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week on Live with Leah on Talent Tuesday. Thank you so much. So we can stay on right now. I think we'll probably still be live for like maybe 30 seconds. I don't know. Rollis will usually cut it off. Rollis, are you still there on the Zoom?
Yeah, it's usually close to it. Right now it's running close to a minute behind. Okay. So, but you can do a couple of poses if you want.
Okay.
For the editors, for thumbnails.
Okay, so we can just happy like smile.
Pose. Yeah.
Like a freeze frame.
If you want to do a crazy one, you can do a crazy one.
We can do like a thumbs up.
Thumbs up, yeah.
We can wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. So they can use those like for our freeze frame. So what we'll do, the